Topic 3, Operation Strategy, Managing Performance. So invest in a great measurement system. Has anybody ever been measured against a standard? All of you have. Going through school, you're measured against a grading scale, right? A, B, C, D, F, maybe pass, fail, check, check plus, check minus, different types of grading systems. And you're trying to get the best grade you can. So what are some things about those systems, right? So we have here, measurement motivates behavior. So we have what gets measured gets done. Some of you have probably heard of that. So we have our strategic intent. So our strategic goal drives our logistics performance. So if we're Amazon, we might have a goal of 99.5%, as an example, on-time delivery for our products. When a customer orders something, 99.5% of the time, it's delivered on time to the customer. So our strategy would be on-time delivery. So the measurement would be 99.5% on time. So when we look at our performance, we're comparing our actual performance to that measurement standard. Are we meeting it or are we not? Simple yes or no question. If we're not meeting that measurement, that standard, why? And with a company as large as Amazon, we could maybe look at, okay, we're meeting that standard in all of the country except for these states. You might be wondering, well, why not these states? And you can be like, well, there's something going on in those states and the trucks can't physically get over there to get the packages to a distribution area and have them dispersed to the customers' homes. That's unfortunate, but that's outside the company's control. But what if a company, FedEx, UPS, Post Office, DHL, is a low performer and they're the source? Amazon might choose to sever ties with a delivery company because they're not meeting the standard. Because what gets measured gets done, so people are going to work to get to these measured standards. Just like all of you as students are going to work to get to the standards that are set forth in the syllabus. Just like you have for all your other classes, from kindergarten or preschool, maybe, all the way up until now. There are certain standards that you reach. You know, if you don't meet a certain standard, you get a failing grade. If you do meet that standard, you get a higher letter grade. Simple as that. If you drive, you had to pass the driver's exam. There was a minimum score for that. So some of you might have passed, some of you may have not, but it got measured. So you worked to meet that standard, that measurement. So measurement drives execution. Some of you may have heard of measure twice, cut once. I first heard this when I was helping my father finish a basement. He told me, cut the wood once, but measure twice before cutting the wood. Because if you cut it too short, well, now that piece is wasted. You have to use it for some other purpose. So you have to make sure a couple things are in place before you get those winning results. You need to make sure people understand the measurements and why those measurements are there. If they understand why they're there, that's going to help with their behavior. Because they may modify their behavior because they understand why. So for example, if you're working in a hospital and you're working in the emergency room, you understand that when a patient comes in, they need to go through the triage within 5 minutes of checking in. Well, the understanding is that's the standard, but why? Why within 5 minutes? Well, at triage, they can identify if that's an acute case that needs to go straight back into the emergency room, or if it's somebody that can wait in the waiting area. Well, now that's going to drive the behavior. So that triage nurse and the registration desk are going to try to be as fast as they can because they understand that somebody may be having chest pains, and it could be just something as simple as acid reflux, or it might be something as serious as a heart attack. So getting that person into the triage nurse within 5 minutes of checking in is going to make a major difference for that person who may be having a heart attack. So the execution. So you have that behavior, they're going to modify their behavior because they understand what's going on, so they're going to execute that differently. So at the registration, that person who's doing registration might be as efficient as they can to get them checked in all the way. And then notifying the triage nurse that there's a new patient. And if all these things line up, you have winning results. So, while measuring the right thing is necessary, it's not always sufficient. Sometimes you need to measure several areas to cover what you want, because there might be multiple areas that impact what you're looking for. And that goes into the understanding part of this measurement. If you can get everybody on board with the understanding, they modify their behaviors, and their behaviors result in the execution, you'll have those winning results. So having the great management systems is essential. It's more than just saying there's a quota, you need to make 1,000 in a day. Once you make 1,000, you can go home. Well, if you can make 1,000 in an hour, you can go home. Well, making 1,000 with a certain is one thing, but making 1,000 with the desired level of quality, that's a completely different thing. So, if you can make your great management systems, invest in those, such as a balanced scorecard, which we'll talk about in the next video, you're going to do great with measuring and ensuring that people meet these standards.